Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of this wonderful conversation we are having with the beautiful Lily Ennis. It's a pleasure to be back on your screen. This is 2.0. Yep, that's right. 2.0 is in the house. It's a pleasure to be back on your screen. I hope you are enjoying the conversation and you can't wait to hear part two. So I just want to thank you for coming back. And don't forget, if you did not get an opportunity to hit the subscribe button, I just want to extend an invitation to you right now. Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you are notified the next time we release an episode. So I hope you enjoyed the previous episodes that we did where we were talking to Lily. So we are getting ready to dive right into the second episode. So it's not too late for you to share it with someone. Just send a link over to somebody that that would find this conversation interesting and beneficial. So don't forget to share. Also, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts about the conversations that we are having here on this platform. All right. So without further ado, stay tuned. We'll be right back with part two of the interview.
So the biggest blow was going through all of these issues publicly. And I recall there was a time where there was this big Jamaican tabloid. It's called the Pink Page. And one of it was literally front and center, was a picture of him and his mistress in the club, and then a picture of me and him. And it says, does he want rice and peas, or does he want rice and beans?
No way. Wow.
So going through all of that, and then looking at your youngest son and saying, you're so handsome, you look just like your dad, to someone that I hate, I don't even want to look at their face. But knowing that they are half of him and half of me, and knowing that I have to put my feelings that I'm currently feeling aside to be a good mom, because long term, I know the effects that it had on me. So if I could just lessen the damage to them, that's what I will always do as a mom.
Absolutely. And it's like, maybe there are other people who are in the same situation, but I'm sitting here looking at you and listening to your story. I'm like, you are in a unique position, right? Unique position because of the fact that you are I don't want to say the product of a divorce, but you went through a divorce. And now here you are. I mean, you grew up with parents that ended up getting a divorce, and now here you are. You have kids as well, and you are having to go through a divorce. So it's like you had to use the experience of what it was like, what you observed as your parents were going through that process, and you also had to be in the position to pivot and become like a protector, right, for your kids, because you know what happened and you know how it impacted you, and now you find yourself in a position where you have to minimize the impact it has on the kids. So
I wish that therapy and mental health was such a big thing in our community, because as Blacks and Latinos, especially Latinos, we have a thing called el que dirán, meaning, what are they gonna say? Like the biggest thing in Caribbean communities, and I'm sure you're Haitian because you understand. Is what will the neighbors say?
Right.
And
exactly.
what are the aunties gonna
say?
And what we're always worried about what everyone else is gonna say.
Right.
And so we don't get the healing that we need. But I wish that my parents had put me in some type of therapy so that I could have healed and dealt with certain things at a younger age, because becoming a life coach and studying people and studying things, that's how I was able to be such a personally developed person, to be able to shift and navigate my children through this divorce. However, I will say this, what you focus on expands. And unfortunately, in my marriage, due to the residue effects of my parents being divorced, that was a huge fear of mine, especially in the entertainment industry.
Right.
And I said, oh God, I don't want to go. I don't want to be divorced. I don't want to be divorced like my parents. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to go through this. But law is, what we don't realize is that the more you speak on something, even if you're speaking on it because you don't want it,
it comes into existence.
And you're inviting it. And I said, how is it that the very thing that my whole entire life, my whole entire marriage, I was trying to avoid is that I'm talking about my dad. I have 2 brothers.
Yeah.
This man
has 2 kids.
Children.
Yeah.
Like, it was just
it's like it's the exact same thing. Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. But you know what? Through it all, I have to say, I'm glad for the way you turned out, right? So even you do say that, during your teenage years, there was some rebellious moment or some acting out, right? But it's not to the point where it was severe enough that it actually, derailed you on how you turn out today, because a lot of people, unfortunately, they end up, having to self-medicate, whether it's, alcohol or whether it's drugs or just being sexually promiscuous. But unfortunately, I mean, that didn't happen to you, in your case. So that's awesome.
I think we all have a choice, though. You can either focus on the obstacle or you can focus on the opportunity. And I think that we're not taught as people, just in general, to focus on positive things.
Right.
If you go to a grocery store and you're at the checkout, what's before you go check out at the grocery? Tabloids.
Yeah, exactly.
Or tabloids filled with bad news.
Of course.
And so our whole life we've been socially conditioned to look at things from a negative lens, and we don't really make an emphasis to focus on the positive. And I just feel like anything, you said a key word, pivot.
Yeah.
Anything that we've ever gone through, we've had to pivot. And I was very adamant about failing forward.
Right.
And taking any type of failure or difficulty that I've gone through and making an educational point. But without proper coaching, therapy, reading books, things that we just don't like to do, we can't have certain outcomes because we haven't put the effort into it.
No, definitely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you with the fact that, Latinos and Blacks, we did it, therapy, especially for men, when it comes to men. This is something that is not, that is not talked about at all. We don't want to,
my heart cries for men.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are not allowed to be
no
in pain.
No, not at all.
You're not allowed to experience certain things. And I think it's so foolish of women to say, I want this emotionally intelligent man.
Yeah.
But as little boys, were you allowed to cry?
No, of course not.
Get up.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
you cry.
No.
What are you crying about?
Take it to the chest and, keep walking. Keep walking.
Tighten up your pants.
Exactly.
Say it with your chest. So, how do you expect now those little boys that you said that to now become these emotionally available men?
It's not gonna be easy. So that's why it's important for us to consider that process, right? So it's not something that is welcome, but I'm grateful that I was able to do some sort of therapy, after my divorce. So I had a pastor friend of mine. We would meet on a weekly basis for like almost 2.5 years after the divorce, and I feel like that's really what got me to the point where I am, today. Because it wasn't an easy situation. As you said, it's not easy for women, but it's also not easy for men, especially in my case, being involved in church and having to go through a divorce, for infidelity, so it was something that wasn't, it wasn't a comfortable situation to deal with, so it, it took me a while to get to a point where I'm comfortable enough to accept my new reality. And this is what gave birth to this platform, to this 2.0 platform, because, seeing what I went through and knowing that there are a lot of, other men who are going through this situation. So I'm like, you know what, maybe we can create a platform where people can come and just talk freely about what it is that, they're going through and how it impacts them, because there is financial impact. There is emotional impact, mostly, especially like in your case, right, in your parents' case. Your father, you said you were daddy's girl. So I can imagine that was not an easy decision for him when he got locked out of the apartment. And the first thing he said, I want to see my daughter, right? I want to see my daughter, because that was so important to him. So now imagine that relationship. out of the blue, I mean, not out of the blue, all of a sudden, right? It's just like it gets cut. So that's got to do something to him mentally,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I'm glad to see that, things are good with you and your father.
Yes.
But this is what people don't understand from a man's perspective. I'm not trying to, deny that, we did our all wrongdoings or whatever, right? So I'm not
And then a
denying the
lot of times
accountability.
you can't hold someone in prison forever.
Forever, yeah, exactly.
My dad is not that man anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he made a mistake,
Right.
but we've all made mistakes.
Of course.
And so you can either choose to love, you can choose to forgive. And one of the biggest things, because even my relationship with my oldest son recently, we've had some friction, and I can tell that he's still in pain over the situation.
Right. Yeah.
But recently we were having like that heart-to-heart moment and conversation, and I said to him, listen, you can choose to be right, or you can choose to be happy. And yes, you were wrong in this situation.
Yeah.
But again, I'm giving you grace because I'd rather be a happy mom.
Right.
And I think that you really operate from a source of love.
Yeah.
You make those decisions. And yes, my dad made errors too, but I can choose to be right in my feelings. I can choose to be happy because at the end of the day, I want to be that little girl that just loves her dad.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? The fact that you went through therapy, it helps you to be able to see things differently, to deal with things differently. And now you can extend that grace. And now you can go back and have a healing conversation with your dad, So it's very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you considered therapy for the kids as well or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I believe everyone should go to therapy. We're made great, and we also have our flaws because of our parents.
Yeah.
Because of just circumstances.
Right.
And if we don't figure out how to process those emotions, because we're taught not to confront how we feel about things, I feel like everybody should be in therapy.
No, definitely.
I'm not in therapy because I'm crazy or there's all these things wrong. I'm not in therapy even because I'm drowning in pain. Like, I'm in therapy because the same way I go to the gym to try to stay in shape, the same way I go to church to stay in shape spiritually and not, backslide. Let me tell you something. I'm a different level kind of Christian, okay? God is still working on me. I have the spirit of Peter. Sometimes drop a little F-bomb curse here and there, but the Lord loved me and he's working on me. It's the same way that I go to therapy so that I can be in shape mentally. So I feel like we should encourage it.
Definitely. Awesome. So to, conclude and bring it back home.
Yes.
So you wouldn't recommend people staying for the kids?
Absolutely not.
No.
I think if you're miserable, but I think that as families, we need to get better exit strategies. I think that if you're unhappy. There's periods of unhappiness and then there's just errors. Right? I think families can navigate through the errors with a lot of love and grace and support. But I think that we've also created this standard of, I'm not taking it, I'm out. It's really rare to see a commitment level. There's children nowadays. I remember growing up as a girl and having posters of what I wanted my wedding dress to look like. I was designed to be a wife. I know that even in my singleness now, I'm still a wife.
Yeah.
This generation doesn't look forward to marriage. And it's sad. So I feel that if we start to exit these marriages in better ways, then we'll see a shift and change in how we view marriage and divorce. So I believe that people should, if there's really no recourse, we went to therapy, we spoke to a pastor, we spoke to our families, we have to leave. It doesn't mean that there has to be this big drama.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it means we just no longer align.
Right.
And especially in relationships where you started off young, like my ex-husband was my college sweetheart.
Oh.
And I just felt that as I continued to climb, I outgrew him at some point. And I think that we could have left things earlier.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting till it was that big.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think you should leave.
So I'm wondering if the point is the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I recently came across the saying on social media that says, um, a man will sacrifice his happiness for the family,
Mm.
but a woman will sacrifice the family for her happiness.
Really?
Yeah,
Not the other way around?
not the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, not the other way around. Because like like they're saying, the man would, it's maybe it's it's true that he's not happy, but he's like, you know what? I love this woman. I love what I have at home. I'm a provider, I'm a protector, or whatever. I'm gonna keep doing what I do on a regular basis, and that's it. But the woman would be like, you know what? I'm not happy. I'm leaving. You know.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean that's
I
like
disagree
that's
with that,
that's kind of
but
like what you talked about, right? It's
interesting.
like if you're not happy, right, you gotta make yourself happy, right?
Yes.
And it's making yourself happy is leaving the relationship is what's making you happy.
I
Because you
think
feel
as
like
long as you've explored every option and, it's not fair enough. Because think about it. If we stay in unhappy relationships or
Mhm.
unhealthy relationships, that's what we're teaching our
kids,
children.
yeah.
We're teaching our children to settle that this is what marriage looks like, as opposed to saying it didn't work, but there are other healthier examples of marriages.
But I think, a lot of people would look at marriage as the pursuit of happiness,
Mhm.
whereas it's really not, right? Because when you think about it, it's a self-sacrificing,
That's good.
it's a self-sacrificing union or whatever,
Yeah.
entity. Thank you.
That's
Because
good.
right, because when the Bible talks about it, it says the man should love the woman as Christ loved the church, right? And Christ literally sacrificed himself for the church, right? So it's a sacrificial act that you do when you get into marriage. So I don't really. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people look at marriage as the pursuit of happiness, right? They want to be happy. My husband has to make me happy, or my wife has to make me happy. But it's not really what it is. It's like I have to sacrifice my happiness for the sake of the family.
It's not happiness and it's not even love.
Right.
It's commitment.
Exactly.
Can you love this person when the butterflies go away?
Mm-hmm.
Can you love this person through brokenness?
Yeah.
Can you love this person through trials? Can you love this person when they don't even love themselves?
Right.
Can you love this person through self-sabotage?
Mm-hmm.
Can you love this person through error? And it's saying like we are going to commit to being our best selves and growing together. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way.
I know, unfortunately. But as I always said, like I don't promote divorce. So by all means, if you can work it out, that's
I love
what
that
I
you said
encourage.
that. I feel like a lot of people that are divorced though, they push that agenda
Mhm.
because it didn't work out for them, and I
Yeah.
hate that. My sister went through a very challenging point in her marriage last year,
Mhm.
and I told her fight for that marriage.
Yeah.
If it can work, if God's grace is over it, do all that you can
Mhm.
to maintain your family. And I find that sometimes we think we're so healed.
Yeah.
But some people are out there telling you, leave him, no, because you're lonely.
No, listen, I talked about this before. I actually had I interviewed a gentleman at the mall, right,
Mhm.
for the show, and he referred to divorce as a false sense of liberation.
That's so
I was like,
good.
wow, that is awesome.
Oh.
False sense of liberation. Because
What's his name? I need to tag him. That's
yeah,
profound.
because sometimes you feel like, all right, once I get divorced, oh man, it's like open field, But then, a couple of months into it, you're like, oh my God, it's really not what it cracked up to be. From both sides, from the man and the woman, So that's why you said you like the fact that I say I don't promote divorce, and to hear it from a divorcee. But I don't know, that's how I am. I saw a guy on TikTok who was, they asked him a question because apparently he was married and got divorced and now he's looking to get married again.
Mhm.
And the guy asked him, he's like, well, you got married, you divorced, and now you want to get married again. And he goes like, why? And he said, you know what? I believe, marriage was God's design. And I feel like God has called me to live in that space, to exist in that space, And the way you talk about it, even in your singleness, you still feel like you're a wife.
Child, I would
right?
get married and divorced 6 times. I don't care. I'm gonna find, or he's gonna find me.
Yeah.
My Boaz is gonna find me.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, so it's like it's God's design, and the same way I have that desire to be to live in His design and what He calls us to be. So I miss being a husband. So But yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah. But anyways, Lily,
Yes.
thank you so much for taking the time to be here on this platform, to be the first woman on this platform. We appreciate it.
Thank
So, why don't you tell us exactly what you got going on, what you got coming up next with all the events? Because I know you cooking a lot. You got a lot
I am
happening.
cooking a lot. So in this entrepreneurship world, I always have a new project.
Sure.
So this month, actually, I'm not sure if the episodes drop this month, but this month I have Boss Babe Bingo coming up, and then next month in June, I'm actually helping one of my closest friends open up a restaurant. I'm an investor, and we're
Oh, nice.
doing that. So be on the lookout for Braxton's. It'll be in the new Honey Spot location on
Okay.
Stratford Ave.
Nice.
So we're opening up an upscale smokehouse.
Oh,
Flew
man,
to
that's,
Texas to get the smoker, so it's gonna be
Oh.
good food.
that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Cool. So I know you have a book out. So are you working on another one, or are you not talking about it yet?
I
Or what can we expect?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
So since I've been writing books,
Mhm.
I have like 5 unfinished books.
Oh wow.
I do. I have so many books.
Oh my
Don't
God.
ask me why I'm not finishing them. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
However, as of recent, I want to say last month, I started. I do these cohorts where I go into the either prison systems or juvenile systems,
Mhm.
and I teach personal development.
Oh wow.
And I've noticed that my quote unquote Lilyisms, which are just affirmations with a little bit of Lily sass, they have a really big impact. So I want to say it here. I am going to start working on a Lilyism journal.
Oh wow. That would be
So that'll
fantastic.
be my next thing that I can.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Well, again, Lily, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate it. You know, I can't say it was a long time coming, but you know, I'm glad you're here. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having me. God bless you. God bless this platform.
Thank
I
you.
pray that it brings deliverance to so many people, and also, fosters, clarity, conversation,
Mhm.
so that we can really reach that 2.0. And I love the way you named it. That's good marketing.
Thank you.
This is wonderful. Thank you
Appreciate
for
that.
having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, yeah, today was the first time. I'm hoping that it won't be the last, because I'm pretty sure there's like so many other topics that we talk about. We can have some panel discussion and have you to be part of the panels as
And
well.
make sure
So-
you put my information how they do really cool, so that people can stay connected with
Stay
me.
connected with Lily.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. All right, guys. Well, this is it. Wrapping up another episode. Again, like I said, I don't promote divorce, but I do understand sometimes there are certain situations out there that requires a divorce, and you have to follow through. And if you do find yourself to be in that situation, I just want to let you know you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it by yourself. Talk to someone. If you don't have anyone to talk to, feel free to send me a message, DM me, and I'll be more than happy to reach out to you or get you in contact with Lily or any of the guests who's been on the show before, so we can help you. We want to let you know there's a community out there for you, so you're not alone. Don't do this by yourself. And don't forget, live every day as if it is your last day, because one day it will be. I'm JR. Thanks for watching 2.0. I'll see you next time.